Welcome, everyone. This is a monumentous occasion because I am joined here with someone that has side of the fan base and the community for a very long time. Say who it is. I'm going to let them speak so that you'll be able to figure out for yourself if you know who it is. So, welcome, the Blue Host.
Yes, Tyrone, thank you so much for having me, man. The Blue Host is back for a second or two. I'm still trying to sort out my contract with a few people, including you. So let's see how and where it leads me. But you have always given me the opportunity. If you'll continue or not is one thing, but you have always given me the opportunity, sir, to speak the truth. And I really thank you for that.
Okay, so for those who are not new to the channel, so you guys clicked onto this 3-bar video for a reason, so I'm not going to waste your time. Seeing the dynamic topic, a topic that divide opinions, and it's this: Chelsea versus Arsenal league. Which one is bigger? Which one is more important? That's the question. Because I know that a lot of people who say that the Champions League is something that Chelsea will always be able to win Arsenal about. Even if they were to win the Champions League, no, the narrative probably be that we have two while you'd have one. But you have no other Champions League. So I'm going to be taking a back seat. I will not be hosting this stream. And I love the Blue Host, given the fact that his name is the Blue Host, to steer the conversation and to the discussion.
Yes, Tyrone. So I'll take this opportunity to host, do the hosting duties.
Mm.
And of course, the fans of Chelsea sessions are curious. I'll try to give my opinion precisely somewhere in the middle, but it's more importantly, Tyrone, the blue corner. People would like to see what you have to say on this topic. I'll try to marinate, try to ask genuine questions, try to reflect what's going on. The whole purpose, right, when we started our friendship is to do shows so people, ourselves included, people to learn, to improve, to think and think beyond the box, to think beyond what's presented to them or to and what is given to them out there. So Tyrone, the whole thing, as we know, as you said at the start, this topic is the rivalry, the biggest rivalry in London, and perhaps a lot of Chelsea fans say that Arsenal are the bigger rivals. For me, Manchester United are the bigger rivals, but that's subjective. But Arsenal is definitely the top two rival of Chelsea and the biggest London rival. And this season, never say never, but apparently it seems that Arsenal will win the league 9 points ahead. We'll see what happens tomorrow with Liverpool City. It really feels like it looks that Arsenal will win the league. There's no guarantee, but it's highly likely. And most of us, like it or not, inside acknowledge that. So, if Arsenal go and win the league, right, Tyrone, and they fail to win the Champions League, which is a possibility, they may even win the Champions League. So, as you said, even if they win that Champions League, it will be one. We have two. But as we were discussing behind the scenes, and thanks to you, who brought to my knowledge the difference of the Premier League between Arsenal, Premier League titles between Arsenal and Chelsea, which is huge. So we had this discussion, and as again, thank you for taking me to places where the mind go beyond imagination. The whole question is, Tyrone, to start with, after saying all that, is in your opinion, Tyrone, being the logical person you are, is the Premier League or Champions League the bigger title?
As you know, and I think you probably subjective, but I'm going to say that it's a subjective opinion. But based on my opinion, I would say the Premier League is of the way you compete, but in terms of bigger, in terms of accolades and bigger in terms of recognition, bigger. But as I've said, I prefer the league or any league phase. You have to face off against all the teams within that competition, not just four teams in a group stage. And I can respect the new format of the Champions League, but at the same time, it's not as good because you have it's done this for the first time. Even I don't think I've ever mentioned this to you as well. It is basically like the concept of the Super League. Just like and what's his name? Perez. He wanted to create the Super League. Uh, where where you face off against the teams and you decide who's the best there. That is something that, and even back then, I had no problem with because I know that it's better to compete in a situation where you every team not once but twice, so that you can see if it's a one-off occasion where you can win against your opponent two times, only one time, or not at all. That is a better thing to use rather than it being a one-off thing or facing where you just lose one game and that's how your campaign ends. No. So I prefer the Premier League and I prefer any league over the Champions League, which is ironic because it's a league as well.
Yes, Tarun, thank you for your response, uh, to the point. And based on your response, and we'll come to this graphic, this picture, as they say, the picture speaks a thousand words. Based on your response, first of all, what you did, it's always lovely to talk to you, man. You first of all differentiated the big thing, which people complicate, including myself. You said and you acknowledged the Champions League is bigger in terms of maybe the television rights, the money, the fame, and the coverage. But that's one thing. But you talk about the competition itself. You talked about briefly, I think we will touch on that more, that why Premier League is better. So, and as you said, the Champions League with fewer games and stuff like that. So yes, I think we can all agree that the Champions League is bigger because it's a European trophy. There are elite European teams involved, and as I said, I don't have to repeat the coverage, the money, sponsorship, and what you get if you win the competition. So based on that, it's bigger. But Tyrone, I have a question. It's up to you. We can address that after this picture. Yes, since you brought this up. So let's talk about this first. And then, of course, there are a lot of delicious questions. So we'll try to have you as long as possible. So, as I can see, clubs with the most English football titles as of 2025: Man United, Liverpool, 20 each, Arsenal, 13. If, of course, I won't read it all. As we go down and down and down, we see Chelsea 6. So if my math is right in 2026, 6 multiplied by 2 means twice of 6 is 12, plus 1 is where Arsenal is right now. 13 Premier League title. How would you analyze this? It's a historic concept, Tyrone. I mean, it's a historic stat. When I said historic, it takes into consideration all the eras. And the most important thing over here is, Tyrone, that we won 5 titles, the Premier League titles, and they had 12. They only won one in 2004. So if we look at the recent history, then it's us. Of course, they don't have the Champions League, we have two. But I just put things as they are, just spoke about what I'm seeing over here. But I would like you to analyze, to break it down further, and share the insights that you have in your mind.
Right. So I mean this when I saw this I felt so because I'm seeing and to be honest, I'm not even that associated with the club. I'm just a fan. But I felt so this. you see it says Aston Villa, a team that hasn't won the league in this alone. And I'm just saying the last 2 decades, the last decade as well. They haven't won it more than we do. And for all the Chelsea fans, and I'm a Chelsea fan as well, you're a Chelsea fan as well, that we've won everything in football, which is a weird concept for me. But within our 19 years, depending on what you want to look at it as, and if you want to start with 2004 to when the club had to be sold, 1918, whatever you want to use. Um, we say that we won 20 trophies or whatever the case may be under Roman, but within that 20 trophies, it wasn't a case where we were in the number of Premier League titles or even league titles, is a better term to use, league titles. So we had 19 years to try to get. I'm not saying we should have won 19 league titles within 19 years. I'm not crazy. There's circumstances as to why we didn't. But the fact that we were not able to get more than at least Aston Villa, it's puzzling. And Sunderland, the team that has been a yo-yo club for ironies that every time Sunderland came up, we always won the league. I remember that narrative that the Premier League online trying to say that will Chelsea win the league because Premier League, because the last 2 times at least when Sunderland came up, we won the league. So can you imagine? We had 4 and they had 6 still. So you can just imagine with that. But I felt very disgraced by this, and I'm saying, wow, look at that. Newcastle United are 2 behind us, beyond Aston Villa. We had 19 years or so to try to dominate or to capitalize on, example, as you mentioned, hadn't won the league since they had their invincible or their undefeated league win. So yeah, I felt very sad when I saw this, and I looked it up when we were having a conversation behind the scenes, and I was like, wow.
So we'll go back to the Premier League, Champions League, which the title is all about, Arsenal, Chelsea. But one thing I think it's important to discuss, maybe briefly at this point, since the chart is still there, let's talk about Manchester City. And I would say the forgotten club. What I mean by the forgotten club is that Chelsea fans, they focus all the time on Arsenal. Tyrone, as we were talking behind the scenes again, we have to analyze a lot of things to understand what's going on. You did the math and the start. City had 2 titles. We had when we had one. And then when we got those 5 Premier League titles to get to 6, City not only started winning during that period, but look where they are. 10 titles, including the Champions League in 2023. City were bought in 2008, a few years after the Roman takeover. So they were the new kids on the block, and they completely dominated the league and added the Champions League. But yet, the Chelsea fans want want City to win the league over Arsenal. So even with Manchester United, as we discussed, that hey, Liverpool is a historic rivalry, and we can see that. But as you said, they have a reason to worry about Liverpool more than City because it was all about the 20, the number 20, the magic number 20. But where will this go? If the trend continues, the question is if the trend continues, where there's no guarantee if it will, and City over the next 10, 20 years add more Premier League titles than UCL, will Arsenal still be the main rivals? Because at the end of the day, Tyrone, a lot of Chelsea fans like you and I want us to think about the number 20 in this chart. Not to think about Arsenal 13, but to think about number 20. If that is the case, we should be competing with the absolute best. Same in the UCL, our goal would be to eventually take on Real Madrid's number. So I know this is not the central focus of this chat, Manchester City, but every time the Carabao Cup final, the Premier League title race, or if it's a Man City Arsenal final of the UCL, we know vast majority of the fans would be supporting City, not Arsenal, which I don't understand. To me, I would support Arsenal as a Chelsea fan. I don't want City to keep dominating and adding those titles.
Mm, yeah. Big up to my boss, by the way. My boss says big up Ty and the Blue Host from back in 2024. Wow. Wow. Back in 2024. Anyways, but yes, as you said, and I mean, you I think you indirectly stole some of the points that I was going to use by, although you mentioned that I said it, I wanted to mention that the whole thing about Liverpool and Manchester United and why, of course, they have that massive hatred because when you look at it, when it, with Liverpool and Manchester United, for if anything, it would have been a case where if we do the maths, Liverpool would have had 18 titles. And Manchester United would have had a 20. Of course, the last time they would have won it would have been in 2020, in 2012, I should say. 2012? Yeah, 2012. Yeah, when Chelsea won the Champions League, which, funny enough, we're speaking about the Champions League as well. Um, but yeah, as you said, in terms of Liverpool and Manchester United, that rivalry makes complete sense. And of course, why they're not really focusing on cities, because of course Manchester United will have that feeling to say that we we are the ones that were winning before. We won before they did. We were always the bigger brother. We were the ones that were always getting the, and of course seeing that we, how much of what I said did you hear? Because my connection is acting up now.
That's not a problem. It's part of the process. You were talking about we Manchester United being the bigger club, the bigger brother.
Right.
That's
Okay.
the
So
last thing I
perfect.
heard.
Perfect. This is just it's just when I started saying the next thing. Okay. So right. So what I'm saying is that people say that that they would say that okay, Manchester City, we does not worry about them because at the end of the day, we did it first. That is the narrative that they would have. We did it first, so we don't have to worry about the fact that okay, at one point when we had 19, they had two. So at the same time, it doesn't matter. But of course, went by, it was a case where they had to be compete with each other. And it was a case where we know when, of course, City, it was against Manchester United and City had that sort of battle. But just sticking and focusing in terms of Arsenal and Chelsea, when you look at the fact that we can say the same for Arsenal, although United and Manchester City are both in Manchester. Arsenal is in, and Arsenal and Chelsea in London, yes, but in different parts. It's not the same. It's not in North London. So Spurs and Arsenal, that rivalry makes all the sense in the world. The Fulham and Chelsea rivalry makes, they're both based in Fulham and all of that. But I've always had this confusion as to why this whole thing of North and South West London. have this big rivalry where they hate each other so much, and they're worrying more about somebody that's in a who's in a further distance from them than their own local people. And of course, we fans are the ones that really worry about it. Fans don't really care about Spurs winning anything. They will care is completely different. It's not like, oh man, stand to see them win this. No, you'll have some that will, but not all of them. You have some that will be like, okay, those who cares? They're just winning their first trophy in 17 years. Who cares? That's the way they look at it, and I think that that is how the mind works. The mind works that because I'm in a very long time, or the first time ever, we should not. It's only when things start to improve and improve about City and Chelsea, and that rivalry that should be the bigger rivalry, because I've always said City and Chelsea is similar, where they both got relegated to the second tier. Arsenal never got relegated to the second tier. That's some Arsenal fans, or at least older Arsenal fans, will always say that they never got relegated. Chelsea got relegated, City got relegated, Manchester United never got relegated. So City. So that is what I'm saying in comparison to who is their quote unquote biggest London rivalry and Manchester respectively. It is always a case of, okay, let's not worry about them. And I think that Arsenal never really cared about the fact that, because they had that comfort of saying that, oh yes, we may not have won it since 2004, but we still have. They have a long way to go, and we do, because if you look at this, we would have to go beyond Aston Villa. We have to go above City, and of course, if Arsenal win the league, which we both share the sentiment that they will, then it becomes 14. So that means we'll have to win 8, and we have to win 9, and hope that they don't win another one to be 15. So that's why I'm saying that why is it a case where we're focusing on Arsenal, which have always been behind above us, and we've been behind them, when City were literally behind us and they came and surpassed us. So that is why I'm saying that why is the bigger rivalry Arsenal's been looking up to? They are the bigger brother because they're the older club too. So they're older than you, literally. So they're the big brother. But City, you can argue. Before I say anything, I don't want to say nonsense. So let me look up something very important, right? And City is also older than us, but we were like that younger brother that were thriving and past them. So despite all the success that they were, we were the one that came 25 years later and been able to manage to find success with the riches and the benefits that, of course, City would have. So I know I've been saying a lot, but that is why I of why both Arsenal adding to their tally, but not caring about City. I'm not saying we should go into the tally, because if you want to compete, which I really hate that debate, you can't be worrying about that, but not also care about the team, and they came and beat you. But as I said, it's a case of they never care, because City were always the ones that were looking up at us. And it got to a point now where I think because they're so used to not paying as the City, now when it got to the point where City surpassed us and now have 4 more titles, have they just don't care, and it's just Arsenal, because they're so envious of Arsenal. So I understand the concept, but if you're gonna worry about Arsenal, worry about City, because came from behind and passed us, basically.
Yes, very well said. Very well explained. There's a lot, right? So people just go with the narrative, what's pushed out there. And of course, we both know, acknowledge, identify Arsenal as a big, huge rival. But we are not saying that they are our point is that they are not the only rival out there, or they are not the biggest rival by miles. That is the whole point. And then coming back to the the main theme, the central concept of this stream, right? Okay, so let me put myself on the spot to make things easier. Let me sacrifice my own self. to help make the point clear. The chart that you shared with Arsenal having 13 Premier League titles, of course, it didn't say anything about the Champions League. So we all know they don't have any, zero. 13 Premier League titles, zero Champions League. Chelsea, six Premier League titles and or six leagues and two, of course, Champions League. If I have to be honest, if I have to face God and I have to be honest, and right now I will be given a chance to rewrite history as a Chelsea fan, or let's say if it were in my hands, would I like to keep Chelsea six Premier League or six leagues rather, and two Champions League, or if I'm giving the option to take what Arsenal has right now, 13 Premier League title and no UCL. As I said, I'll put myself on the spot. I'll take Arsenal 13 Premier League titles to put in Chelsea's trophy cabinet because Premier League on any given day, year, month, era, the league, any top league is bigger than the Champions League or is better, is more competitive, is of more value, according to me or my analysis, because of the competition. And if you allow me, I'll try to be super quick and try to say it all in 2 minutes. You play from August to May 38 games against 19 different opposition, home and away. From autumn, winter, spring to early summer. Different periods, 9 months, a long journey, home and away, facing each other. You play 38 games, which is a lot more than even with the new format of UCL. If you play the final, you have to, everyone plays each other twice. So it's consistent, more fair. And of course, if we talk specifically about the English Premier League, by far the best league in the world, given the competition, given how well these teams do in Europe, and the biggest proof right now, if you want to see as of now, see the 5 out of the 8 teams that qualified are from England, are in the English Premier League. It's a whole lot. It's a whole different topic for other day to discuss, because some people would say no. Um, with the UCL, don't get me wrong, of course, the Real Madrid, the Barca's, the Bayern Munich's of this world are there. They are fantastic team historically. Of course, as of today as well. Not so Madrid. Barca are struggling as well. Never say never what they will do in the UCL. But there are a handful, three, four, five teams in whole of Europe that are as good as or can be at the pedigree as if we discuss to the top teams or even the teams that are not really in the top six of the English Premier League. And Tyrone, I don't know about you, but I think we'll probably agree on that. If we compare, if we talk about UCL, first of all, a luck of draw plays a huge role from the round of 16. Of course, there is this new league which is good, which is a little bit stretched, but a lot of teams qualify. That the teams that don't qualify, like Real Madrid, PSG, still are getting an opportunity to play the qualifier. Then you have then to win the UCL, you have a set of two games, three times. Round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final. Basically, you only play three teams. In those three teams, you may play only one. Top teams like the Bayern Munich's or Man Cities of this world. You may play, with all due respect, to Dortmund. I don't know about this title. I'm just saying generally. The Dortmund or a Benfica or an Ajax or a Napoli to make the UCL final. On the other side, the other team that would make the final may go through a Real Madrid, an Arsenal, a Chelsea. So it's super inconsistent. In other words, a team that goes to the final may not get the Real Madrids, the cities, the Liverpools of this world because they were eliminated by other oppositions. Therefore, it's very difficult to weigh in the credibility that okay, the team that won the UCL is actually the best team in Europe because Tyrone, don't want to say it all. Of course, I know I learned a lot from you, so I have to give you a shout out over here. As you said, and let you go from here. You said that, so that's why I'm making it clear that many times the winner of the UCL, and that is one of the reasons why you prefer Premier League over UCL. The winner of the UCL many times have not even won the league in their own country in that season. Please go ahead. And what I said a lot, I know. Do you agree with what I said? And what do you have to say on that so that the audience, because it's late Saturday night, whenever in the morning, late tomorrow afternoon, they will see the stream so they can understand where you are coming from or where I'm coming from. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Right. And that is the thing. And you, the last point you made, it's, I think it's very much a very good definition for what Chelsea have done specifically, because Chelsea, the two times Chelsea have won the Champions League, it's not like we won the league. And of course, we can argue that when we had the capabilities, or we had Jose and all of that, we had the possibility of winning the league, and of course trying to win the Champions League, and we didn't. But when Chelsea won the Champions League, it was also at a time when they were struggling, especially the last time. We had just about gotten Champions League qualification on the Tuchel. And that was thanks to Leicester City and Tottenham. The result of that game, if I remember correctly, going in our favor. I think Spurs trashed Leicester City 5-2 or something like that. And that is what gave us Champions League football over Leicester instead. So Spurs ended up helping us in the end. But we struggled. We know the situation in that season. Lampard got sacked. Tuchel came in. But what we saw is that he had to take the club from being outside of the Champions League spot to being in the Champions League spot. And trying to build on that, trying to get the team to work as a unit and try to get the best out of what he inherited. And of course, we got top four, we got Champions League qualification, and within the midst of that, although City ended up winning the league, we had beaten City three times by the end of that season. So we played them four times, or we beat them three times. Three times, two times before the Champions League final, but three times in total when you look at the Champions League final as well. So we can speak about that. And of course, the first time we know the situation, Andrea Villas-Boas, he got sacked. Um, and then Roberto Di Matteo, he's the one that took over. Who he used to play for Chelsea. I don't know if he was considered a Chelsea legend at that time. Of course, no, he's a Chelsea legend because he's in the record books for being the one that was, there leading a team that people may not give him credit for, saying that they're well rehearsed, so they didn't even need him. He was just somewhere that was just picking the team and just being there. But yeah, we could say that we struggled. I think we finished fifth that season, right behind Newcastle. Let me just do a quick check as well. But I'm sure, because I know for a fact we didn't win the league. That's the most important thing. I know we didn't win the league that year because I know Manchester United did, or not Manchester United, Manchester City won it that time. Man United won it in the year prior, I think it was. Right, so we finished sixth actually, so not even fifth, sixth. So this is the table to confirm. This is when City ended up winning. This would have been, what was this? This would have been what, Pellegrini? This is the one with Pellegrini one, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry. But I think this is when Pellegrini won it. I don't want to be wrong.
You mean 2012, the City Premier League title, correct? Mancini.
No, this is Mancini's the one that they cut. This because Pellegrini would have been the 13-14 one. So it would have been Mancini. Yeah.
Roberto Mancini, the QPR game, the Sergio Aguero late goal, right?
Yeah. Right, which I referenced earlier. Right, so that's what I'm saying. So we finished sixth. We finished sixth that season, and we won the Champions League, though. So that's what I'm saying, that the teams in which the team that ends up winning the Champions League may not be the team that is the best in their league. So you present the so it looks good for the league because of course the league, a team from that league won it, but at the same time that's not always the case. It's not a case where you dominate the case because or I think for Real Madrid as well, when Real Madrid won the Champions League, it wasn't always a case where they were winning the
Yeah,
league.
can you check that if you don't mind,
Yeah,
if
I'm
it's
about to do
possible?
that.
The three in a row under Zidane when they won uh, 15,
Okay.
16, 16,
So that
17, and
means what?
17, 18.
So 16 he said. So La Liga table 16, 17 he said.
Yeah, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18.
Okay, so I think okay. So this is this. So Real Madrid. So Real Madrid won it. So 16, 17 they won the. Okay, I don't know what's going on with this thing. But yeah, it says they did. Okay, so champions Real Madrid, right? So you can see here, 2016 to 17, Real Madrid won it. And that was their 33rd title. So 15, 16, he said. 15, 16. Okay, so 15, 16, Barcelona won it. Barcelona won the league that season, right? Real Madrid finished second that season. All right, and then six, you said 17, 18. So 17, 18. Let me see this one. Okay, so Real Madrid were the defending champions. What? Hold on, I'm confused. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, that would have been it. Yeah. So Barcelona finished first that season. So it wasn't a case where they won the league and the Champions League as well. It was a case where they won one and they finished second. So it's not a case where the best team in Europe, as they say, or the
Right.
champion of Europe won it. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. Just quickly, just so the people can realize to the extent that it's so nonsensical. Real Madrid won three European, I mean, not European, the elite European title, the Champions League. 3 years in a row. In those 3 years, they only won the league in their own country once.
Mm. Right.
What does that say? Tyrone, if you can expand on that, what does that say?
it's it says a lot. It says a lot. Um, Man City won the Champions League in the 2023, right? So but the EPL table 2022-2023, they won the league that season, if I'm not mistaken, right? So they did that. So cool. So they won the Premier League and the Champions League, right? But what happened when they tried to win it the first time? They won the league, but they didn't win the Champions League, and that was against us. So you realize that it's a case where it's not always a consistency. So you can do it. It's not impossible. But and I'm going to use another example. Liverpool. Liverpool could have won the league. That's the same year that they won the Champions League, but they lost the league by 2 points. I think it was, or if it's not two, it's three. But I know that they lost it by fine margins. So you realize that when these teams won the Champions League, it wasn't a case where they were dominating their leagues as well, or they were winning their leagues. Let me not say dominating, because they were part of dominating the Premier League. Liverpool and City respectively, they were competing with each other for a long time when Klopp and Pep were in the league at the same time. So yeah, so we can say that. So my point is that the Champions League is a flawed concept to utilize to say that who is the champion, who is the best in Europe, because the best in Europe based on that standard may not be the best in their league because they did not win the league. So it's about the ranking system is there because it's about what you can do in a knockout competition, which is I'm not discrediting the fact that a team can do that, but it's kind of flawed to say you're champions of Europe when you can't win your own domestic league, but you can win the Champions League. So it's not consistent, and that's what I've always said, and that is my problem. So focusing on the whole thing with Arsenal and Chelsea and keeping that same sort of narrative, we will say that, for example, if, and I'm gonna say this, maybe it's probably, I think it's the best time to say this. I have this feeling. I'm not saying that I have a 98% confidence, no, but I have a strong belief that if Arsenal, let me say this the right way, if Arsenal win the Premier League, I have a feeling that Chelsea will, if they don't win the Champions League, they'll be in the final. because the whole narrative with Arsenal and Chelsea has been that when Arsenal were not winning the league, Chelsea at least won something. So even last season, when they could have won it because City fell out, who was the biggest rival in terms of competing for the last 3 years, fell apart or fell flat. It was a case where Arsenal and Liverpool were competing, and then Arsenal fell off massively, and then Liverpool won the league by 84 points, I think it was. So and then they lost by 10 points. They lost the lead by 10 points. So that is what I'm seeing. So it's a case where it's always we've won a trophy. We at least won a trophy. What have you won since you won the trophy against Chelsea in the FA Cup in 2020? That is our narrative. So if Arsenal were to win the league, Chelsea will say that, oh, but you don't have a Champions League still, so you can't be the best. You can't be the best team in London because you've not won it. But based on and this is where I'm saying the inconsistencies there, because if you're gonna say that you're the champion, you've been champions of Europe and the champions of the world, how can you not? How are you gonna say that? Yeah, they're not the champions of London, but based on the terminology that you use, they're champions of England, basically, because if they win the league, they're gonna be getting the title of the champions of England. So no, they won't have to worry about the champions of being the best in London. They're the best in England based on the standard and the name that you get and the bragging rights that you get for winning the Premier League. I don't know what you have to say, but that's what I'm looking at it as, Jerry.
Okay, so the best team in London, because let's say if we win the Champions League this season, which I truly believe we can and will, but how will we even be considered the best team in London
Mm,
if we are not, or even the best team in Europe, if we are not the best team in England if we
mm,
don't win the league this season? It's not making it seem like I'm telling my friends again, just a hypothetical scenario, that I'm the best player in table tennis and I have defeated the just saying that my Japanese friend, my Chinese friend, so I am the best table tennis player. Just saying. So my Thai friends would say, "Hey, but a few of Thai friends, let's say two or three, would say, but you can't even beat us. You never defeated us in the competition. So how do you claim that you're the best in Asia?" It's because on a given evening or a given day in football, table tennis, or any sport, anyone can lose to everyone. So the reason, of course, the hypothetical situation where I won the table tennis competition in Asia, I wish, I defeated the Japanese and Korean friends, which were great. I mean, those players were great, but the better Thai player got eliminated by that Japanese player, so I never faced him. And that Thai player is more or less like a Man City, who most of us agree were the best team in the last 10, 12 years, but they only won one UCL. The reason City won one UCL is because you can lose one game and you're out of the competition. In the Premier League, if you see over 38 games, it's not that City has won all 38 games. Many times they have lost a few games in that league, drawn a number of games. In a European tournament or World Cup or any other competition, you can have that game anytime. And especially if it's a knockout round, and if Man City was to draw or lose a game in that 38 game season of the Premier League, but that happens to be in a knockout round, you're out of the tournament. Nothing matters. And that is the huge flaw in,
mm.
in the knockout competitions, in my opinion, Tyrone.
Yeah. And this and I just and for the point that you raised about you can basically just paraphrase what you're saying. You can lose in the league but to become the champion. So that is why the league allows you to have a little off period, so you can lose some games and still become the best, because the best doesn't, and this is why I'm saying in life you don't become the best by just always winning. You also have to go through adversity, and you have to go through challenges. And that's how life is. So if you're in a situation where, and of course you can make the argument that the knockout competitions are called a knockout competition because they have knockout rounds. So that is why it's called a knockout competition. But the way in which it is set up is that if you make a mistake, if you miscalculate something, that's it. You can never win. You're not allowed to have a one-off game in the knockout stages. Of course, when in the prior format of the Champions League, when you had the group stages, you could of course lose a game here, draw a game here, but you may finish second or you may finish third, and you drop to the Europa League spot. Or if you lose every game, then of course you just get eliminated from the competition in fourth. So that is the thing. So you get the opportunity to slip up. So it's like the concept is that you're supposed to use a group stage as a point where you can mess up at most two times. But if you mess up two times and then you continue in the knockout season, you mess up, then that is valid. Which I'm not saying that should not be the case, but I'm saying that if you see here, City have lost 5 games when they won the league in 2022-2023. Arsenal, and you can see one of the key things here as to why Arsenal didn't even win the league that year. They drew one more game and they lost one more game than City. So the margin is so small, because if they had won their game and they had that extra game, it would have been a different story. So you can see that the 3 points that they lost was so, and the 2 points that they lost was also there. So it would have been even more dramatic, because it would have been a case where maybe you can say that City would have probably won on goal difference. But with this, the fine margins are way bigger than in the Champions League, because winning the Champions League is fine margins. We've seen a lot of the Champions League finals, barring the one that we saw last year, where it's been decided by 1 goal, or it's been decided by 2 goals, but not by 5 goals, 4 goals, 6 goals, and all of that. It's not like that. Even the final between Liverpool and Tottenham, it ended 2-0, 2 goals. That it's not like when you're in the Champions League final, you dominate your opponents in the final. In the Premier League or in the La Liga or in the Bundesliga, almost in the Scudetto, in the Serie A or league or the Eredivisie, whatever the case may be, whatever league it is, you can dominate, you can destroy a team 5-0, 6-0, and then you still lose. That is why the league is so beautiful, because the Champions League will paint over the patches to say that, oh, but this team is doing well because they won the Champions League. But when you look at what they're doing in their leagues, they can't beat, and I'm going to use the Premier League, because the Premier League is what Chelsea's in, or the City are in, Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool. You can see they can't beat a Wolves, or they drop points to a Luton Town, or they drop points to a Sunderland and Nottingham Forest, and that's no disrespect to the teams, but based on what they've been able to achieve in the last 20 years or 10 years, you realize that in the league you can slip by teams that you're supposed to be beating on paper, the inferior teams to you. But when you come up against teams that people say that you're at the same level with, you edge them by an aggregate score of probably 1 goal. Because we look at PSG knocking out Arsenal, they won by 1 goal, so the aggregate was very close. They won that game by 1 goal. They won the first leg 1-0, and then they won the second leg 2-1. So you see that it's fine margins. But with the league, or with any league, you can drop points against in Spain, for example, against a Valencia, a Villarreal, what's that team called? But you get my point. So, and that's what has happened with Barcelona and Real Madrid's campaign, and that's why Atletico Madrid were able to win the league, I think, in 2021. So that is what you're seeing. They drop points to the teams that are inferior to them. So that is why I'm saying the league is better than the Champions League, because when you slip up in the Champions League, that's it for you. You can't redeem yourself, but in the league you can. So maybe people, basically what you're advocating for is having the chance to slip up, but then I can hear how it may sound flawed. What I'm saying is that with the Champions League, if you mess up in the knockout round, that's just it for you, and you can't. So if you had a bad game, and maybe if you face off against a Bayern Munich, you'd have probably been able to beat them, but Bayern Munich go and win the Champions League. The concept is that you're better than this team, but you're not better than that team, and that is the same with the league. With that, when you face the team twice, and they may beat them one time and they beat you one time, it's even out. So it's a case of they learn from their mistakes the first time and they can beat you the second time, or vice versa, where you learn the mistake that you made in that first game, and he beat them the second game. That is a difference with it. So you can join the Champions League first leg, and the second leg you just win by a one goal or a two goal, and that's just it. It doesn't decide anything, because knockout gives a different mindset of, okay, we just need to get to the next part. In the league is about, we need to get the 3 points. So you're going to be doing everything you need to do. So you're not going to be cautious in the league all the time. But in the Champions League, you have to be cautious and calculative so that you can get the best results in that knockout competition. I know I've been saying a lot, and I know we've went over what we planned, Jerry, but I just wanted to really give an understanding of what I was saying.
No, I appreciate it, and that's what I wanted. That you analyze, break it down for us so we can understand. And I think you did a fantastic job. Of course, we will try to wind it up in the next 10 minutes. You did an amazing job. Explain, of course, with the chart, the insights, comparing different years, different leagues, Spanish league, especially the example of Zidane winning three in a row, and only at the same time only one he managed to win one La Liga. That says it all. And many other examples that you shared, you broke it down, with examples of that you can always lose a game here or there, right? And one thing, as you were saying everything, and thanks to your analysis, one thing came to my mind that, hey, we forgot to talk about the injuries. That is why
Mm,
UCL is really flawed. You can have your best player unavailable in the semifinal, and that's it. Or two players. Let's say you don't have a Reece James and Cole Palmer in the semifinal or the final. Will you? I mean, because of that, you're out of the competition, but you can make it up in the Premier League if you are really that great. So Premier League allows you. It doesn't mean that it allows you to make mistakes. It means that if you are really that damn good, you can have an off day. You can. The manager maybe had a game plan, or his tactics. Maybe he got it wrong. Maybe the team could have an off day or a bad day at the office. But over 9 months, as my dad would say, big up to him, over a sustainable time, always the real team come up as the winner. Or 99% of
mm.
the time, the real team. I said 99% time because Liverpool maybe someone will say should have won the league that year. So that I can understand when there is a 1 point thing. But you see what I mean? 99%, 9 month story, 38 game, every team playing 38 games. The table does not lie, right? So you can have an injury, you can have a number of yellow cards based on the Champions League rule, Tyrone, and you will miss the next round. You know that, right? The player misses the
Mm.
semifinal or the final. How stupid it is. Um, of course, these are the things. The injury can play a part, and for me, the biggest thing is the luck of draws, Tyrone. The teams, if you analyze, or people can do it themselves, go and check the last 10, 15, 20 years of the finals and the route of one team going to the final and the route of second team going to the final. It's not consistent. One team may get a win,
I did this.
luck
I
of
mentioned
draws.
this one time.
Right, right. And then again, you only have to win a bunch of games, two games, two set of games, and not. And a few years ago, how long it has been? 3 years. The away goal rule was there. That was so silly. I mean, I'm just bringing that up. Don't forget that the away goal
Yeah.
rule, the which really affected a lot of teams' progress. So I still think Champions League is a fantastic competition. Is of course is the best European competition, and definitely much bigger than the Conference League. I'm not saying that, but the thing is, if we compare with the Premier League, uh, and other leagues as well, then it not always tells the truth. And again, I would sum it up by saying the 2015 to 2018 year, 3 years in a row, Zidane winning the Champions League, but he was never. I mean, he was only once in those 3 years. He and his team, Real Madrid, were only once the best team in that country, but they claim that they are the best team in the whole of that competition, which is flawed.
Mm.
So I will sum it up, and then I'll give you the microphone, sir, because we would need 5 7 minutes of quality conclusion from you. I would say to the Chelsea fans, this is the whole purpose is to say, come on, we need to win more. let's do the let's do less of the talking but more of the winning. I would conclude by saying that, of course, UCL matters. I'm not saying it does not and should not. If so, I will summarize by saying, let's say if we had uh, 10 Premier League titles instead of 6, 10 or 11, right? That is the sweet spot. Even two less than Arsenal, then maybe that argument is good to have that argument. Hey, you have 13 Premier Leagues, we have 11, but we have two UCLs. Then I can understand we are getting the weight or the pedigree of UCL and adding to, because the league, the difference is not that much, right, Tyrone? This is how I see it. But when you don't even have half of the leagues that Arsenal has, then don't use the UCL. Rather than tell yourself, tell the community, tell the players and the whole hierarchy, let's add more and more Premier League titles, and at the same time definitely add more European titles as well. So that's all I want to say. We will have a discussion. Hopefully, we'll see how the contract goes on the UCL. So, Tyrone, I sincerely believe that Chelsea can win the Champions League. And of course, I'll be delighted with that. So, to round up this stream, and thank you so much for letting me host this channel and also share my views in the middle. What do you see? Do you think that we can win the Champions League? And what should be the message? Like, it has been a throughout, it's a message to the Chelsea fan base. As you would say, again, I have to give you the flowers. If you worry about the other team winning, you always say that. You always preach me that, right, Tyrone? Behind the scenes, win it yourself, Tyrone.
Yeah.
I will leave that open ended. I opened the door for you with like an open ended question, and I want you to conclude this stream in the next 4, 5, 6 minutes or 7, as much as you want. So, thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was about to say that as well. That if you're complaining about your rivals doing it, then you go do it yourself. It is like saying that you're in a race, and within that race, you don't trust yourself, or you don't think you're capable to beat the person that you don't want to see win that race. So go do it. Put your all into it and prevent depend on somebody else to do your work for you. It's impossible. And that's the thing. And that's why I keep saying that if fans don't want Arsenal to win the league, you do it yourself, and stop saying that no, we can't stand to see this happen. If you don't want to, if you can't stand it, then hope that the team does it. Don't say that, oh, I hope that City wins, that Liverpool wins. No, that is the wrong way to think. If you really are a Chelsea fan, you should prefer none of those teams to win and that Chelsea would win. Not that I hope that this will be the case. I've always hated that. And that's why I'm saying, because you cannot say that you don't want your rivals to win, but yet you want another rival, because every team in you, or you've always been behind, is your rival, because you're trying to surpass them now. So you don't want, but it's like saying that, okay, the lesser of evils, I want them to win. So the evil for you is Arsenal, is City. So I'm okay with City winning it, but I don't care, because it's not Arsenal, anything but Arsenal. But team that was behind you and surpassed you in the last 8 years at least, and gotten to 10, and you're okay with that? No, that's why I'm saying that it's flawed, very much flawed. You want them to go to 11 and to just to ensure that you're the one that do it. I don't like that. But there's this one point that I want to raise as well, to conclude as well. You asked me about the Champions League, and I'm going to answer that question right now. Chelsea's are very weird. Chelsea win the Champions League, and Chelsea win things when you least expect it. Because I know for a fact that, and I'm going to say the social media community, the social media fan base, they did not believe that Chelsea were going to win. They did not. Maybe had believed it, and maybe they were joking. But I know for a fact that 85% of the social media fan base did not think the cup. But as you said, luck of draws. It is the butterfly effect, I would say, because in Mengo, we would have faced off against Bayern Munich, but because we lost, we finished second. We finished was it second? Yeah, we finished second, and then Benfica finished first because of course Bayern Munich win and they rotated their team and they ended up losing that game and Benfica ended up finishing first, and then therefore we face Benfica instead, which is why, as you said, the injuries, fatigue, that can play a huge part. Huge part in what happens in one game, and one game changed the whole dynamics of things. So we could have faced Bayern Munich. I don't like to speak about hypotheticals, but just like how they were able to defeat us and trash us, well, that's a thing, but they defeated us in the first Champions League match that we faced off again. So we end up seeing that battle that we were supposed to, and we didn't get to see because of one match or two matches on that one match day or match period, the landscape of it. So Chelsea's a weird club, and just like how Chelsea, it's not likely. I don't think that's going to be the case. Chelsea don't have the depth as Arsenal, and I think Arsenal are going to win the league. I'm not advocating that I want to see Arsenal win the league. I'd prefer not them to not win it, but I have to be. I keep saying this everywhere I go. I'm a football fan and a Chelsea fan. Chelsea is the team that I decide to support on a consistent year after year, season after season. But I'm a football fan, and I prefer to see a team other than City. People do it. I want to see a different team because City were turning the league into a formless league where they were just winning the league every year, every them. And it wasn't a case where they were that excellent. It was a case where they were slipping up because this is the consistency. They will start off the league so badly, and then when it comes to December up to the last stretch, that is when they come back from the teams that were ahead of them beforehand. They cannot do that. And the last time that it was a case where City slipped up, and Chelsea were also in the league, and they finished second or second best to us. So I think Chelsea can win the Champions League, and right now, if we get back the players that I see which we're getting back gradually and slowly, I think that Chelsea will win the Champions League. It sounds delusional for people that can hear me saying this as well. They are gonna lose Norway, but the reality is the Champions League when you don't expect them to win the Champions League. We won the Champions League the last time with that imbalanced attack. Who was not scoring goals, he was missing like it was his best thing to do. And Kai Havertz, who was having a difficult season, but he won the Champions League first with that one goal. And Mason Mount happened. The belief, the focus, the concentration, and against all odds, Chelsea won the Champions. Nobody gave Chelsea a chance. But what happened? City did not play a defensive midfielder in that midfield. They went straight all attack, and they went against them. Those things can happen. Luck of draws, luck of outcomes, luck of starting 11. So I think Chelsea can place back, and if they keep coming back and getting consistent, I have no sort of reason to not believe that we can.
Trust me, it gave me the goosebumps, and I strongly believe we can win the Champions League. Thank you, Tyrone. Thank you for everyone who tuned into a very late night Saturday stream. And hopefully, the fan base, your Chelsea Session fan base will tune in Sunday, Monday, whenever they get time. A lot was said on this stream, and thank you for having me after almost five and a half months. Thank you again. I appreciate this opportunity. And yes, come on, you Blues.
Yes, I can't wait to see you come back in the next 5 months. You don't have joking, but yeah, you're part timer, so we have to see when the pay-per-view to make your grand return when nobody expects it. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. I'm about to end the stream. That is when more people start to come in. Big up to you, Mighty. It's good to see you. It's very good to see you. The one earlier with the review, and you missed this one as well. So big up to you, and big up to my boss who was also here. But cheers, everyone.